Good morning again, everybody, and all you latecomers. It's great to see everyone. Happy Halloween. We have a few people dressed up. Who's not ready for trick or treat? I was driving by some of my neighbor's house on the way into the center this morning and admiring their Halloween decorations, which I actually get to do every day because they never take them down. But I made it a point to particularly enjoy them when it's actually Halloween. So thank you, lazy neighbors, for your Halloween decorations. I love this time of year. It's so interesting with all the costumes and masks. But it occurred to me recently that while in some way they're intended to hide who we really are, I think in another way they reveal more of who we really are. So if you were to dress up for Halloween, and some of you have, and you look adorable, would your costume conceal your true identity or show more of it? Something interesting to think about. How many secret princesses do we have out there? Or not so secret? Brad? What about cowboys? Do we have any cowboys? Rick. Now I know when Reverend Lacey, he didn't raise his hand, but when he was a child, he liked to dress as a cowboy, and apparently, and I say apparently because that was long before I was born, he had a full-blown cowboy costume complete with a holster and guns. Yeah, I love that story. You have to ask him to tell it sometime. I, on the other hand, was a matador. And later I was Dracula. Those were my two favorites. So it's no wonder I grew up to be a vegan, right, after killing bulls and drinking human blood through my childhood. So our lesson this morning is entitled In Plain Sight, and it consists of two parts. The first is a discussion of our divine identity as individuals and as the collective we call humankind. The second part deals with how we regard our world and particularly how we consider the things in our lives. Now, as your co-pastor, it's my responsibility to inspire you to higher levels of demonstration of your good and to participate in educating you along those lines. So today I'm bringing material from the Emma Curtis Hopkins class I'm teaching to share with everybody because this stuff is so good it shouldn't only belong to the students taking the class. So using Emma as our guide, we will draw a crucial distinction between substance and matter, and we will talk about how to increase what we love and release everything else. So let's get started. The Science of Mind teaching, of course, turns on the premise that God is all there is. There's only one power in the universe, and that is God. There could not be two, or one would limit the other, and because we understand this one is limitless, we know it's the only thing there is. What follows from that is our claim that we are one with God. We are its creation. We must necessarily be because it's the only essence out of which anything could have been created. So because we're here, we must have been created out of its essence. Once we understand this, it's not long before we make a third connection, which is, oh, if this is true of us, it's true of everyone else. If I am God, then everyone else is God. We're all one. So it's about unity, it's about divinity, but it's about so much more than that. Once we embrace these tenets and agree to abide by them, we start to look at ourselves and others in a different way, in a much better way. And eventually we are readily able to recognize the divine everywhere we look. Not just in people, but in things and in circumstances as well. And it's as if we suddenly realize that God is not in a far-off place, that it is and always was right here in plain sight. And what follows from there is nothing short of miraculous. We come to cherish our loved ones even more, don't we? We get along with people better, even our coworkers or that boss we used to dislike. We even experience meaningful connections with checkers and clerks and postal workers. It's as if we treasure every person we encounter, even if it's just for a moment, once in a lifetime. We cherish that. And life is good. And then what happens? What happens sometimes when life is good? We get complacent, don't we? We start taking all this good stuff for granted, and we forget how truly magnificent we are, how powerful we are, how perfect we are. We forget. A couple of weeks ago when we had those beautiful sunny afternoons, I was outside with the dogs, just for a few minutes, and they were running around on the grass, and I was thinking how cute they were and what a beautiful day and how warm and sunny, and all of a sudden, this huge shadow cast over the lawn and part of our little vineyard. And I thought, by looking at the shape of it, oh my gosh, that airplane is really flying low. And when I looked up, what I saw was not an airplane, but a hawk. And I was a little startled, and I thought, oh my goodness. Now, yes, this is a magnificent bird, but it's not very big. But it passed the shadow the size of an airplane. And that got me to thinking about how we often do not reflect the magnitude of our perfection, our brilliance, our magnificence out in the world. There's always more to us than meets the eye. But how do we show that? How do we reflect our power in a greater way? How do we project our magnificence? And why would we even want to? Well, the spiritual life is a journey, not a destination. You've heard this a million times. But because this is true, it means that we will never just arrive at some place where we don't have to do anything anymore, where we're done. There's always more, because we're always growing and we're always fine-tuning. No matter how wonderful it gets, we're always looking for more. And because the journey is not a solitary one, our actions affect everyone in the sphere of our influence. And that sphere is much greater than we actually imagine. See, our consciousness, being part of the one consciousness, capital O, capital C, connects with all life everywhere. The power of our thought is not local, it's universal. Therefore, while it may sound trite to say that when we raise up our consciousness, we make the world a better place, it's anything but trite. That is the truth. It's the absolute truth.